great southeast and the Midlands of South Carolina, coming to you live through a digital frequency spreading across this great nation of ours and around the world. You're listening to The Last Frequency. I'm your host, Michael Vera, and attempting to ring, and then it's not ringing. Let's try that again. You hear it, right? And it's saying no answer. That's not even giving it a chance. Huh. Maybe that's her. Good evening.
Hi, I'm supposed to be on the air right now, but I don't know how to get on.
Oh, well, I was trying to call you, but it kept telling me no answer. So it wasn't even ringing. It was just going right to...
Well, I'm here. I'm hanging. I'm ready.
It's
tell me what to do.
To ring, and it's not ringing.
Okay, I'm getting an echo.
I'm listening to the show right now. That's because I'm listening to the show. I'll stop listening to the show.
Okay.
I'm not listening to the show anymore.
All right.
Okay, tell me what to do.
Well, you're here. You're on. If we can, any way to get you get your volume up a bit. You sound like you're in the distance.
Sure.
Are you?
Is that better?
Is that better? A little muffled. Are you on speakerphone?
Okay. I'm on speakerphone. You want me to get off speakerphone?
Yeah, let's try that. Let's try to get off speakerphone. See how that sounds.
How's this? Is this better, or would you rather I do it on Zoom?
That is gonna be way better, I think.
All right, whatever you want. But I mean, we can also try Zoom.
No, well, I'm actually not set up for Zoom. I'm only set up for Skype. So, and I called you direct from one number to your Skype number. So, but we're good now.
I have a Skype number. I have Skype.
Yeah, I could. That's
Zoom. That's better. No, let's stay on the phone.
All right.
Better. I know how to do my Skype.
Okay. Well, listen, we're live, and I want to thank you so much for taking time out to be here tonight. I've never spoke with you in the past, so I'm really looking forward to hearing about your research and the work you do and all that good stuff. So, Doctor, if you wouldn't mind, how about we start with a little bit of background, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Mike. It's such a pleasure to be on your show. I love listening to you.
Thank you.
So I'm Shelly Stockwell-Nicholas, and I'm in California. Sunny California, where we have the weirdest rules in the whole United States, probably. But in any event, I'm really happy to be here. And my subject today is time travel, which I find tremendously interesting. And I got interested in time travel when I spontaneously remembered another place in time, as if I was there. Has that ever happened to you, Mike?
It seems like it has. Are you talking like kind of like a deja vu kind of thing, or no?
Yeah, deja vu. You go to a place for the first time, and maybe you feel like you know the place, but you've never been there before.
Well, that has happened to me once, and it was in 1,000 Islands. I was about 17, and there's a few of us went on a boat. There's a boat that takes you to the different islands. And we got to one of these islands, and there was a castle on it. And when we got into the castle, I told my friend, let's go upstairs. We could put our name on the wall upstairs. I don't know why I said it. But we went up there, and I'll be damned if there wasn't a room where everyone was putting their name on the wall.
Out of sight. That's fabulous. Have you met somebody for the first time, but, gee, you just feel like you know them?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yes. And have you ever had a glimpse of another place in time, but you're not yourself? You're someone else. Has that ever happened to you?
That I don't think I've experienced yet. Outside of maybe the
dream state.
So
that's what happened to me.
Oh, okay.
Oh, excuse me, outside. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no,
outside
no.
of what?
I say outside of maybe the dream state. Maybe something like that. But I want to hear, definitely tell me. So this happened to you.
Yeah, so I was just doing my life, and all of a sudden, I remembered being a little girl living in an insane asylum. Now, I wasn't one of the members of the insane asylum. I was the daughter of somebody in there, and I was in the kitchen with a bunch of cooks, and lady was wearing a hat that looked like a mushroom kind of thing, and there were these people that were the people who ran the place. and they treated me so nicely. I mean, it was a really nice life, and I was treated with respect. And so I thought of that, and I thought, gee, that was interesting. And then I kind of blew it off, you know.
Yeah.
And then I'd go to a movie, and I'd feel like, you know, I understand these people, but gee, I don't understand those people, depending on, you know, the scene. Like, if I saw a movie about Japan, I didn't relate to it. But if I saw a movie about Native Americans, I really understood them.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was kind of like Alice in Wonderland says, curiouser and curiouser. And so finally, one day, and now I'm a hypnotherapist by profession, and I've been a hypnotherapist almost 50 years. And one of my friends who knows I'm interested in the paranormal or hypnosis or anything like that, she said, I'm going to the Light Institute in New Mexico where Shirley MacLaine went and had all those past life regressions. Do you want to come? And I thought, I don't know. You know, okay, why not? You know, it just didn't really, it wasn't my driving force or anything. So I go to the Light Institute. And I don't know if you remember, Shirley MacLaine wrote a book called Out on a Limb. And in that book, she talked about all her past lives that she remembered. So I go to this Light Institute in Sedona, Arizona. In New Mexico, not Sedona, in New Mexico. And in New Mexico, they do this kind of thing. They play some soft music, and they do like a deep massage on your gut, on your belly, right?
Yeah.
And they say, just say whatever comes up. And below me down, if I didn't start totally remembering this lifetime as a Native American. And it was a very moving experience for me. And I suddenly, my name was Red Feather.
Ooh.
And my son was Little Eagle, and he was being burned in a fire, which was against my tribe's traditions. They never burned the body; they always buried the body. And so I just said, to hell with it. You know, I'm sorry. Spirit has betrayed me, and my little son was supposed to be this really cool guy, and he was supposed to change the world and unite all the tribes. And I mean, this whole involved story about how my little boy was murdered by a crazy Indian who dropped a rock on his head, and he was supposed to be the peacemaker of all the tribes, and now he's dead, so I'm going to go burn him in the fire. And I mean, it was very emotional. I was thinking, this is very odd. And so after this regression, she said, go out and walk around outside. So I'm walking around in New Mexico. It's beautiful out there, and there's a lot of brush and dry air, and walking around. And I remembered everything about this lifetime. It was like I downloaded this whole man's life. And so I just thought that was fascinating. And that night, when I was with my friend who invited me to go, she said, what happened? I told her, and she said, well, nothing happened for me. All I could do was sit in my living room with my family, when I was 8. She never, ever got out of age 8 in this current lifetime, right? But we were there for days, and I started downloading all of these lifetimes. And the most fascinating thing, and I think you're going to love this, not only was I that guy, but I was also the wife of the guy who murdered the boy. I was the boy, and not only that, I was the head of the tribe. I was the chief of the tribe, which completely wrecked my idea of past life regression, because I had read in books, you live, you die, you live, you die.
Yeah.
But I was every character in this story, and I knew exactly what their life was like from beginning to end.
Wow.
And I became just absolutely fascinated. How can this be? Where did this come from? What's this about? And so I decided that I would start taking people on regressions. And I hadn't ever done a regression with anyone, but this man came to me when I was speaking at an Elks Club, and he said, oh, Shelly, I know you're a hypnotist. Do you do past life regression? I said, yeah, I do. Of course, I hadn't, except my own, right? But I needed the cash. So
Yeah.
So the guy came over. He was a retired aerospace engineer. And I hypnotized him. and it was really difficult to hypnotize him because he was so analytical, and he told me he didn't know anything about past life regression. And I said, how good's your memory? He said, oh, my memory's excellent. And I said, really? Well, why don't you just close your eyes? And I hypnotized him, and I said, remember something from when you were little in this current lifetime. And he started sobbing. Now, what you may not know is when somebody goes to a lifetime, their current lifetime, and they're a different age, or any lifetime, and they're a different age, they become that age. So he started crying like a little boy. And I said, what are you crying about, little boy? And he said, it's Christmas, and my daddy won't let me open my presents. He says I have to wait till tomorrow. And the man on my sofa had an asthma attack. I thought, oh my gosh, he's having an asthma attack.
Yeah.
So as a hypnotist, I had him turn off his asthma and brought him back to room awareness. And I just gave him this little tool, just thinking that, well, if I can't get him to do a past life regression, at least I helped him with his asthma, right?
Yeah.
And I said, how is your health? He said, my health is really good, except I've had asthma since I was that age. So I kind of let that go. Now I hypnotize him again and blow me down. He winds up being this Greek boy living in Rome, and he is the son of an orator. And he tells me about his life, and it becomes so fascinating to me. But I have this poor man in a trance for 3 hours telling me about this very involved life.
Yeah.
And I'm writing it down and making tape recordings. I'm, fascinated. And I'm asking him a million questions. And I said, well, what do you do all day? And he says, well, I have to have lessons with my teacher. And evidently there was a Greek guy who would come over and teach him how to write. And so I said, well, show me what you're learning to write. He's still a little boy, right? 8 years old, only he's in Greece. He's in Rome as a Greek boy. And he starts writing in Greek. He starts writing all of these letters and messages in Greek, okay?
Yeah.
And then he tells me all about his life, and I'm just absolutely riveted. And so the end of the story, I can't get him to be any other age but 8, and finally, with great persistence, I get him to step out of his body and be a bird over his own head and tell me about the boy's life from beginning to end. And he tells me that he changed the course of boating. He changed the way the boats were made in Rome, and they became thinner boats, and he took people to islands off of Italy. And how did he die was my question. And you're going to love this. How do you think he died?
Not an asthma attack,
He got
was it?
pretty close. He got crushed by an elephant on an island off of Italy.
Oh, what luck.
I don't know what island that was. And the man on my sofa had the biggest asthma attack I've ever seen in my life. And I said, you know how to turn off asthma. Do it now. And he turned off his asthma.
Oh,
and I thought, this is riveting, absolutely riveting. And so I started writing a book on time travel. It's called Time Travel, the Do-It-Yourself Past Life Journey Handbook. And I just became smitten with past life regression, and I found out not only can you take people to the past, you can take them to the future or between lives. But anyway, while I'm writing the book, I call this guy about 2 years later. I go, hi, do you remember me? He goes, do I remember you? I'll never forget you. I said, well, tell me, did you ever know anything about Greece or Rome? He goes, no, I didn't know how. I couldn't believe I wrote all that stuff, and I had it checked out, and it made sense. And I don't know Greek. And then I said, well, what about the past life, the whole thing? I mean, and how's your asthma? He goes, oh, I don't have asthma anymore. It's gone. And I've had it my whole life. And and then he said the same thing he said when he'd come out of trance, the same sentence. He said, that boy is me, I am that boy. And that stuck with me. I thought, this is just fascinating material. So since then, I have literally taken people on time travel journeys, thousands and thousands of people in many, many countries, many, many places, and everybody seems to have vivid scenarios in their head of other places in time.
Yeah.
Now, some of those places, they pan out as real, but some of these places, I don't know where it comes from. And Carl Jung said that the history of all life is inside every single one of us. And, when you think about it, I'll bet you have your great-grandmother's pretty eyes or your grandfather's feet, or, you inherit body traits.
Yeah.
Maybe we also inherit memories. And then it gets even stranger, because sometimes, and this happened to me at the Light Institute, on the next lifetime that I brought forth, I was a big tortoise. Now, I didn't know you could be animals. I never heard that in any book I read.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was an interesting lifetime. And I actually hypnotized people. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, that had to be a really interesting one, because a tortoise, they could live a long time, so you better enjoy being a tortoise.
Right. I tell you, I was a big tortoise, and I don't know where I was, but there were white walls, and I could smell the dirt. And it probably was an island in Greece. It probably was, because it kind of had that flavor of it. But this tortoise lived forever, and the only problem the tortoise had in his whole life was a cat who would come and torture him, and try and swat his head, and he'd have to duck into his shell. And that was my memory of that lifetime, and it was a very, very peaceful lifetime, very long. I was shocked one day. I took a woman on a regression because she wanted to know why she was stuck in her life and wondered if it came from another lifetime.
Yeah.
And she was a granite boulder. I went, you could be a rock.
A boulder? Oh, I hope that'll be my luck.
And I would say she might have taken that lifetime for granted.
Yeah.
But she was a rock. And then, after many eons, she lavaed into a new formation. And when somebody does a regression, I always find out how they died. In this case, she transformed.
Mm.
And how does that relate to her life in the here and now? And she said, that's exactly what's happening in my life now. I've been so stuck, and now I'm transforming and I'm lavaing into a new me. I went, okay, well, if that's how you want to frame it, that works for me. But I think what's most interesting about this is that everyone learns about themselves by doing these journeys.
Oh, I agree. Now, you said that in your case, and probably many others, then you can live many lives at one time, then parallel kind of lives?
Well, simultaneous lifetimes. And so that became really intriguing to me, because if you have simultaneous past lives and you could have simultaneous future lives, then it only comes to be that maybe you have simultaneous present lives. So myself and Dick Sutphin and some of my friends started doing parallel life journeys with our students. And we found that we could do this thing. Now, I don't know if it's really a parallel life or if it's just being psychic or tuning in on someone, but we would actually go into trance and then focus on somebody who had our same frequency, our same vibration, our same energy, and see if that was our anti-deuteron or whatever, our twin flame or something. And we actually wrote down what we thought was their address and their phone number and descriptions of them. And a few of our people actually found real people they had tuned in on. Like I remember one of my students tuned in on somebody in Alaska, and they were at that address. And that was just mind-blowing. Yeah. Now, does that mean we're just psychic? I don't know.
I've been trying to guess the lottery numbers. That's not worked out well for me.
I got a good story on that one.
All right.
What you don't know about me is that I'm also a medium or a channel.
Oh.
And I was in Australia, and some of my students in Australia said, Dr. Shelly, would you please tell us who's going to win the horse races. And they had my channeled guide tell them, they'd name all the horses in each race, and my guide told them which one was going to win, right?
Yeah.
And so they bet on like 5 races, and every single horse came in second place. Nobody came in first place because the guide, I guess they weren't specific enough. No, not who's going to win, but who's going to win in first place. But 5, she was right 5 out of 5 for first runner-up, not the winner. But this is interesting material. We are so absolutely fascinating as human beings.
We are,
and if
but
we can
we're
just
also
venture here.
There's just also so much that we don't know, and it makes it, like the average person who maybe, like, I've had paranormal experiences, so you don't have to convince me that there's something else out there. I know, I just don't know what it is, and the whole death experience, I think. Most people, it's the not knowing is what scares them with all that. And but I often wonder, once it's over like that, I mean, you're on the other side, assuming there is this other side. What are you doing over there? I mean, you're waiting to. So if you got parallel lives, then some of these, like I could die in this one, but still be going in other ones. But what happens to the me in this one?
That's a great question. And have you had or talked to people with a near or dear death experience where they've crossed over and come back? Have you had any encounters like that?
I have. I had one with my mother. Was the most recent one, and that was in 2004 or 2005 rather.
Mm-hmm.
And
and what happened?
She passed away in 2001, and in 2005 or 2004 or 5 in that area. It's been a while now. But I went to sleep on Christmas Eve. I was really kind of depressed. It was just things weren't going well. And I got a knock about 3:20 in the morning on my bedroom window. It was a ground floor. And so I sat up and I opened the curtain on my window, and my mother was standing there. And she'd put her hand out, and I put my hand in hers, and I looked back, and I could see myself still laying in the bed. And I thought, holy cow, I died. Mom came to get me. That's what I thought. I mean, at first.
Yeah.
And she put her hand out, and I touched her hand. And when I put my hand in hers, we were like energy, like frequency. We just went to the next place. She took me to the house where I grew up in. We floated above, and we watched my dad and my sister talking. But what she was showing me, I was getting what she wanted to tell me out of all that. It's like she didn't speak. Yeah. She showed me what she wanted to say. And,
that's gorgeous.
Yeah, it was incredible. And here's the thing. When I came back to in my body, and I popped up, I mean, I was in total tears, crying like a baby when I woke up. And she told me a few things that had to do with just my life, not the world. And in the days to come, including that night, the things she told me started to happen. They came. So I had confirmation that this really happened. I don't know what it was, but it happened. It was amazing.
Oh, yes, it really happened. Absolutely. I had similar experiences. My dad, I used to be a TWA flight attendant years ago, and I was on a layover in Dayton, Ohio, and I was sound asleep, and all of a sudden, this loud voice was my dad's voice. He was deceased, and he said, "Shelly," just like that. And I sat bolt upright, and he wasn't there, but I know he was there. Absolutely. I heard him. I knew it was his voice, and I thought, I might be crazy.
Ooh, yeah.
I didn't know anything about this kind of thing, and I didn't tell anybody, but I read an article in Psychology Today that said sometimes when people have near-death experiences, they have encounter with loved ones on the other side. So I thought, just like you thought, maybe I died.
Yeah.
But then the interesting thing is, my dad's brother died, and I had gone to his funeral. And the next day, I was on the airplane as a flight attendant, and it was a 747. I was at the front door of the airplane, and I heard somebody walking down the jetway. And all of a sudden, standing in front of me was my uncle who had just died, my Uncle Hal. And he looked at me, and he was kind of transparent, but he was him, in full size, but transparent. And he looked at me, and he said only something he would say. He said, "Hi, Shelly," because nobody ever called me Shelly but my uncle. And then he walked past me and disappeared. And I must have looked weird because a flight attendant came up and said, "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said.
Yeah, well,
I
that's good reading the body language.
I couldn't even speak. I just went in the bathroom, slammed the door, and said, "I better put some cold water on my face. I don't know what just happened." But since then, I have so many experiences like that with myself and with clients. And what's really weird, this is so weird, Mike. If you tell somebody your story like you just told or I just told, you'll find people coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
They'll pull you aside and they'll say, "I never told anybody this, but..." And then they tell you these amazing stories that are just like ours.
Oh, yeah, I've heard a
time,
million of them, too, and I never get bored of them. I love hearing it, and I love that people share this stuff because I always say everybody needs to have an experience. I actually think that most people do have some kind of experience, and I think a good number of them rule it out as something else. They talk themselves out of it, if you will.
I think so, yeah. I was once speaking at a place here in California called Leisure World. It's a retirement community.
Yeah.
My mother used to call it Seizure World. But anyway, I was speaking at Leisure World to about 150 seniors. And I was talking about hypnosis. And somebody raised their hand and they said, "Dr. Shelly, is this kind of like knowing something's going to happen before it happens?" And I said, "Well, it could be. How many of you have had that happen?" And over half raised their hand. And I said, just out of curiosity, how many of you folks here have felt like somebody who died communicated with you in some way? And over half raised their hands. And a woman said out loud, "Why is it that we've all had these experiences and we never talk about them?"
And what's
and
more,
therein lies the rub.
Yeah, and what's more is like, we'll have these experiences, a good deal of us, and we still question, it's still, was it real? Is like to this day, I know it was real only because of the things that came to be that I was told. If that hadn't happened, I'd still to this day say, I'd question myself like it must have been some crazy dream, but it wasn't. It really happened. And and I've had other experiences. So I've had a paranormal life. When I was 9 years old, I had an out of body experience. I couldn't control it; it just happened. And then I had another one. So I had two when I was a kid. I had one as an adult. I've had a couple run-ins with ghostly stuff like my mother. And when these things happen, and I'll even go alien with you, I've seen crafts in the sky. Who's flying them, I don't know. But, what is all this stuff? Why do some of us get that connection? Like, I'm not psychic, but it seems like that if they have to come back to you, if there's a good reason, they can. It's
here's the thing. Your show is called, Frequency, right?
The Last Frequency.
Everything is frequency. Yeah. Everything is energy. Everything is frequency. Yeah. And why not? I mean, we are an essential being. We have a vibratory force field that is our essence. It isn't a structure. And when someone dies, something remains. And people, it's just not us talking out of our hat. It's thousands and maybe millions and billions of people know that this is so. They either know it from a dream or from deep breathing or from meditation or hypnosis, or it happens spontaneously, or it happens because they will it to be, but it just cannot be complete nonsense. It has to be real. And the question is, why is this any less real than the simplest things like a thought? What is a thought?
Yeah, well,
What is a thought?
it's it's a firing, if you, I guess, of the brain, right? It's actually it's energetic, I guess, energy, isn't it? I mean, what else?
That's right. It's energetic. I mean, when you talk about a neuron firing with another neuron, it is a chemical, an electric, or energetic exchange. It's a non-structure that connects two structures, which would be two neurons. Our whole way of communicating within our biochemistry cell is an energetic exchange, a transfer unit, basically. We are energy. My channel guide who comes through me, she says her bumper sticker would read, "Spirit does it with frequency."
Yeah.
But frequency, energy is what we are. And when you die, the structure remains and it's lifeless. The thing that's not there anymore is the vital force.
Well,
and
yeah.
that is just energy.
It's like we have to return. I often explain it like this, and listeners hear me say this a million times, but I look at, coming into this life on this planet is like going into a bowling alley and you're renting your shoes. And while you're in the bowling alley, you have your shoes. When you're ready to check out of that bowling alley, you have to turn the shoes back in. And it's kind of what we do here. when we leave.
Well said. I love that.
And that's kind of how I see it. So
that's well said. Yeah, and it's funny because, we're all going to get a body if we're going to be here on the earth, on an earth walk right now. We're going to get a body, but we're all going to relinquish that body. And I like to think of it as like walking to a door, and you just drop your body like you drop an outfit, a shirt and a tie,
Yeah.
or a dress or a skirt. You just drop it at the door, and then the rest of you goes through somehow. And you say you're not sure what happens after you die, but so many people tell you what's happening after you die because they've been there. And I know I've been there. I had a really weird experience of crossing over. You want to hear that one?
I do, and I like what you said about just dropping the body, like you do your clothes. You come in after a long night of work, you close the bedroom door, and you drop it, right? So it's the same thing.
Just drop it, we're done.
Yeah, and it's like the earth, the body belongs to the earth, and the soul belongs to the stars, or something like that.
I love that. That's well said. Or to the bowling alley.
Yeah. Big bowling alley in the sky, yeah.
Big bowling alley in the sky.
So, yeah, tell me. I would love to hear it.
So, let's see. What was I going to tell you?
You had near death, I guess, an experience of death, yeah.
So I take people on vision quests sometimes, and I was taking people to Egypt. Lots of seekers, and we were going to Egypt, and this was when the world was a little more rational. And when we'd go to Egypt, we would rent the Great Pyramid of Giza. We had to bribe the guy in charge of the antiquities. You'd pay him with cigars and a bottle of whiskey, and he'd let you have the pyramid for 3 hours.
I had
right?
a friend like that.
So every time I take a group to Egypt, we'd rent the pyramid, and we'd have the pyramid for 3 hours. So far, I've spent about 15 hours in the pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Giza. And when you take a group in there, some people go down below, and we call that the basement. I don't know what that compartment is called. And then some people are in the king's chamber or the queen's chamber. The king's chamber has in it a sarcophagus. It's a beautiful carved sarcophagus. And So we were doing a ceremony, and at one point we had them turn off the light, so we're in the dark. And I lay down in this sarcophagus with this other guy. We're on it, feet, heads opposite ends of the sarcophagus, and we're kind of crammed in there together, and we're meditating. Everybody's kind of, I guess some people are oming or singing or whatever they're doing. And we're in the sarcophagus, and all of a sudden, the weirdest thing happened. It was like my life, Shelly's life. You hear when you're about to die, your life passes through you. Like a flash, you see everything in your life, and you have to make amends. Well, my life flashed before my eyes, and I saw all the times where I was clumsy or insensitive, and I had to make amends, like right now, because I was going to die in this pyramid. And I wasn't panicked or anything like that. It was just like I had to go and make amends. And I'm doing this process, and it's happening in a split second. It's hard to explain this. Yeah. And everything, every time I was a jerk, it just came through my brain instantaneously and was resolved. And at that moment, the guy who was in the sarcophagus sat up and said, "Put this on your third eye, and put this crystal gave it to me, put it on my third eye." And all of a sudden, I went into the light. And I was just in this bliss and peaceful place where I lifted up from the pyramid and I ascended to somewhere that I can't describe, but it was full of light and full of magnificence. And it was just the most peaceful, loving experience of ascension that you could ever imagine. And that was that experience. I've had one that was even more riveting another time, but that one was shockingly riveting, because now I understand when somebody says my life flashed before my eyes. That's what my life did, and I feel like I made amends for any stupidity I ever did.
Yeah. I've kind of felt like that, second stage of, maybe the first 25 years, you make a lot of mistakes. I did. And then, these last 25 years, I've been, you try to be a more stellar, you learn, I guess, as you get older, most people do anyways. You realize, I often wonder, because, a lot of older people in my family, when they were younger, boy, some of the things they'd say, and they, they would seem mean as a kid, and then as you get older, you see they're getting much older, and, we kind of crack jokes. Oh yeah, you're getting nice now that you got 1 foot in, right? But I don't think it's just that. I think people they wisen up and realize that like you said, you got to make right those wrongs, and maybe you have to come back and do it again if you don't get it. I don't know.
So what my guide says, my guide is named Kendra, and she says that when you die, you leave your body, like I said, like a suit of clothes outside the door, and then your soul, your essence, or your vibration then has to go to this place where it's determined either whether you're going to go back to school, there's a kind of school where you have to learn about making amends, or whether you want to stay in different stratas or realms of awareness. And when you ascend to those different stratas of awareness, you make choices. You either choose to be born or not and come back to the earth, or you choose to work in what they call the outer works, is what you call the aliens, or you might choose to help people crossing over, or you might become an earth guide, like a spirit guide.
Yeah.
And you actually make choice. So with that in mind, I started doing work where I would, and I've done this literally with thousands of people all over the world, I take people on a regression to before they were born, and I find out, are you choosing to be born? Now, about half the people say, yes, I chose it, and the other half say, no, I didn't want to come. And then the next question is, was there anything or anyone or any reason, any help that you had in making the decision to come? Because here you are. And inevitably, most of the people will tell you that there was a guide or a frequency or a council or whatever. Everybody is individual, that tells them they're going to be born and what their life's purpose is and why they're coming at this time. And I also asked, do you know your mother or father from anywhere else in place and time? And about, maybe I'd say, a little over half know either their mother or father or siblings or mate from another lifetime, but the rest do not. And so contrary to books that are written about, you choose your parents, that doesn't fit with my information at all. A lot of people don't know their parents, and a lot of people do, and it seems like it's almost a crapshoot,
Well, I got to say, this time around, I don't know about the other times. I can't remember those. But this time around, I got pretty lucky with parents and that kind of thing. And they're lucky with other things, too, even though I screwed it up. I mean, but, you live and learn, right? And, I wouldn't, it's not that, I don't know, I like being here now. But, if it was to end tomorrow, and then I found out that I had to come back, it'd be a little irritating for me because it's like, all the stuff, it takes you, like I said earlier, you spend a good portion of your life learning, stumbling over yourself, figuring out who you are, and you get to a stage where you finally understand who you are and what your purpose is, at least you think you do anyhow, and you're starting to get up there, and before you know it, it's time to check out, and it's like, well, damn it. Someone gets all my stuff, and now I got to come back and do it again. So,
Well, maybe you have the same thing then on the other dimension as you have now, which is called free will. And maybe you have the freedom to choose. Now, in my case, I didn't particularly want to come, but I was told by my soul collective, or a group of angels, that I was going to come because my mother needed somebody to help her. So I came to help her. And then my soul collective told me a few years ago that I did a great job and I don't have to help anybody anymore if I don't want to.
Oh, so
and I thought, okay,
so it could be kind of like I'm done. It could be kind of like when you want to go to, say, college for a certain course, and they make you take classes you don't want to get there.
Exactly.
Because I look at this as almost like a school. Or some look at it as a boot camp, but like kind of like a school, and we, there's so much to learn, and it's impossible to learn it all in one lifetime. It's just we're not here long enough. And then you look at some of these, like babies. Okay, so I've been told by many psychics over the years that, well, we choose to come here and we choose this, and I'm thinking, so who gets in line or goes up and looks at the board up in wherever? On the other side, and says, "Ooh, car accident at age 5. I'll do that. I'll sign up for that one." And so
really.
But yeah, so it's kind of hard for me to grasp that. But I guess somebody's got to do it, right?
Well, this is how I see it, because having done so many thousands of these over the years, remember I've done these journeys with people almost 48 years now. And what I've come to find out is that some of these recalls, let's call them, or, visions or experiences, are not resonating as them. And some of those recalls are absolutely resonating as them. And so then we have to go to this major question of who am I? But not who are you in your personality, not who are you in the body you're in, but who are you energetically? What is your core? What are you made of? What is your soul journey to be here, Mike? Why are you here?
I feel like I'm here to push back, to wake people up, and that may sound kind of corny, but I mean, when I started doing this radio show 14 years ago, I feel like I found my calling, and it's been very important. I mean, I've learned things about cures for certain diseases that are pretty simple that you never hear about, and people who've their lives have been saved because they took those remedies and they did them. And I get emails
Right.
and it's so rewarding. So I guess that's part of it, and I guess there's probably multiple purposes. Maybe bringing a child into the world that will do something amazing down the line. That could be too part of it. I don't know. I always hope as a parent that they goes that way. But I feel like I'm here to almost to fight the evil that's here. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, weird, but that's kind of what I feel.
So you're going to be the voice of reason here. So one of the things that I'm going to be flying to Virginia Beach, Virginia, this coming weekend, and I'm going to be teaching a class in past life regression for it's for hypnosis organization, and the hypnosis organization is Transpersonal Hypnotherapy Association.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go there, I have this agenda. My agenda is to have every single person in the room go inside themselves and ask themselves, who am I essentially? What is my core self? What is my core being? Who am I when I take away all the hypnosis I received from the culture, from my parents, from the things I read, if I just strip myself down to my essential, energetic self, who am I? And that becomes a very compelling question.
Yes, it does.
And people answer in only the way that they can answer, because everyone knows the truth about themselves. And to say my truth is yours or yours is mine or ours is theirs is not as honest as there's only one expert on every person.
When I look at it that way, as you've explained it, you made me think for a moment. And when I think of it that way, I guess the biggest purpose would be I'm just here to learn.
Beautiful. See, that's really the nitty gritty. You are a scholar.
Yeah.
You are a true scholar. That's what you're doing here. And I understand that I was here also to learn, but mainly to teach. And I had to teach people to trust themselves and not trust anyone as much as they trust themselves. And that's a biggie. It's a real biggie, because most people are hypnotized from the moment they're born. They have to please the big lady or they don't get the milk.
Yeah.
If you don't do what she says, you die. I mean, let's just face it. It's a real bottom line truth. You've got to please the lady with the milk or you die. You've got to please the man or you might die, and you've got to please the siblings or you could die. And then pretty soon you start, and it becomes this kind of interesting challenge of pleasing all these things outside of self with this fear of dying. But in the truth, you stop living if you're doing that. Because there's only one way to live, and that's to connect with your essential self and find out what floats your boat, what takes you on to do the great things you came here to do. Yeah. And everyone has great things they're here to do. So I love my teaching because I watch people blossom like flowers, and they start sending out this aroma of their essence to the world, like a drop of perfume, and it fills all our senses, and we're so grateful when we meet someone who's genuine.
Then it's
so beautiful.
It's probably fair to say, then, you as a teacher, that you've probably experienced more lifetimes, if you will, that puts you in a position to teach, while others may be in a position to just learn. So I guess you never stop learning, though. So
yeah, because you always learn, so you can teach. And the funniest thing, one of my books I wrote was called Hypnosis, Smile on Your Face and Money in Your Pocket. And I wrote that book a long, long time ago, and it was very popular. and it was due for a third reprint. And I read the book, and I went, I don't believe half the things I wrote. And I had to rewrite the entire book. And that's because the first time I wrote the book, I had learned from other teachers about hypnosis, and I was like a little parrot. I was like repeating things they told me. But later I learned to read it with different eyes and realized that, says who? This is nonsense. It was the same kind of recognition of, I thought, reincarnation, you live, you die, you live, you die, and then I find out, no, I had all these lifetimes at the same time. That doesn't make sense. So now I have to reframe that. How do I look at that? So I had to rewrite the whole book again, and I added 150 pages, and it's a very popular book, and it's used all over the world. It's translated in other languages and stuff. But it's a book now that absolutely empowers the reader to decide the truth. Because, you cannot tell even your children how to live their life exactly because they have a different calling than you do.
That's right. That's right. And believe me, I have kids who are now adults, and there's no telling. They're going to do what they do, and you just got to learn that you've got to let them out of the nest, let them spread their wings and fly. Because when it comes down to it, you're only going to hurt yourself if you keep trying to control, everything outside of yourself. So,
Yeah.
But, Doctor, hang on with me for a few minutes. I do need to take a break here, and then I'd like to come back and talk with you a little more here. So, do you have a website? You want to give out a website?
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure. They go to hypnosisfederation.com. Hypnosisfederation.com.
All right. Fantastic. And we'll be back in just a moment, so hang on with me. Folks, I told you it'd be an interesting conversation, and it is, with my guest, Dr. Shelly Stockwell-Nicholas. We're talking about, parallel lives, past, future, present, time travel, something we'll touch on as well. So just hang on with us for a few minutes. You are listening to The Last Frequency. I'm your host. Don't forget, if you got a question you want to get to the guest or I tonight, you can do so a couple ways. One, as my good friend told you on the way in, there is a call-in number. It is 803-997-0936. And, of course, you could use the portal on the website. And you could just send, just like a frequency. It sends right through, comes right into my email. I'll see it, I'll ask, and maybe we'll get an answer. And so, again, 803-997-0936. If for whatever reason you would like to call in and get a question to us. So, anyways, what a great guest tonight, and what a great conversation. And the thought of all of this whole thing about just after this lifetime, it's so hard for so many to comprehend. And I'll tell you though, one day, if you just have that experience. My dad, he's 91 years old, and he says, I want to believe, but he asked the question, why hasn't my mother come to him? And I tell him, well, maybe you're not open enough about it. He claims he's very open to it, and as he gets older, I don't know. He tells me he's not had those experiences, and I find it sad. I think that, again, people overlook these things that happen. Like, I don't know, maybe the lights or the fan goes off and on you, or maybe you have a dream and Aunt Helen was talking to you in that dream. It's probably really happened. You find that there's a lot of communication through dreams, Doctor.
Yes, a lot of communications through dreams. And I'm thinking of people who are listening right now. I'd like you all to take a deep breath out there and just let it out. And if you're driving a car, you got to keep your eyes open. But if you're not driving a car right now, just go ahead and close your eyes for a minute and say to yourself, the next thing I think is going to be a dream. And just breathe for a minute. The next thing I think is going to be a dream. That's right. You can't help it because the brain wants to go into the dream world. And as you enter into the dream world, you're entering into the part of your brain where you can access not only memories that are in real time of this current lifetime, but you can access other places in time. So as you're just breathing and dreaming, why don't you go ahead and think about a place on the planet, some other country or town or place that you kind of feel drawn to, sort of you feel an affinity to, as if maybe you know that place a little bit. And just imagine with me for a minute, through all of your senses, you can see it or feel it or smell it or taste it or hear or intuit it, but just be in that country or place or town, or just notice where you go. And since I'm talking to Mike right now, I'm going to ask Mike, where did you go?
Me, I'll tell you my favorite place, and that's space. Just the stars. I'm drawn. There's two things that I'm really strongly drawn to, and it's space. Of course, the ocean is a pretty good one too, but the space and again the afterlife. Those are like two of the biggest questions in my life. It's not so much a question as to whether these things exist. It's just what are they about? I want to learn more about them. But that's
right.
where I go. I go to my place of comfort.
That's where
is
you
the
went
stars.
in that little dream. You went to space.
Yes.
Now I want you to imagine with me for a minute, Mike. Okay.
Okay.
Imagine that you are in space. Maybe you're no longer in the body you're in now, but you're just somewhere in the stars or in space, and just breathe for a minute. And imagine that you have the ability to look back or proceed back onto the earth plane and find a being that's on the earth in some space and time that you may or may not have ever encountered up to this moment. And when you've lasered in on a being of some sort, let me know. Just whatever came to mind.
All right.
All right. What came to mind, my love?
Well, I'm dealing with a raccoon. Really.
Okay, good. So
I relate to animals.
Focus in on the raccoon.
Yeah.
Focus in on the raccoon. Take a deep breath.
Okay.
And imagine that raccoon has something to teach you. And just enter into their being. Kind of take on raccoon mentality, if you will.
Okay.
And see if that raccoon and you have a connection other than in this fantasy. Have you ever spent time and space together in any way, shape, or form?
I just don't know. That's a tough one.
So go ahead. Do you know this raccoon in real time here on the planet at this time?
Well, I might. One time there used to be a raccoon that used to come up and eat right out of the potato chip bag. It was a pretty cool guy. Actually made me believe raccoons were decent and friendly. And then I found out not all of them are. But
well, that's true. I raised a couple of raccoons, so I know they're really darling.
Yeah.
But okay, so the raccoon came to mind. Now take a deep breath.
Okay.
Let it out. Now imagine that you can spin the globe, like a real globe. Just spin it. And let your fingers stop the spinning of the globe in any country or place. Just let your spinning globe, put your finger on it and stop the globe spinning and see where your finger wound up.
Well, I'm looking at the Caribbean, I think.
Okay, good. So now take yourself onto the Caribbean, wherever that is, and you're going to make up a story. This is Storytelling 101. And one of the rules of time travel is trust the journey. So we're just going to make up a story, okay? Storytelling 101.
All right.
Become aware of being in the Caribbean. And then notice what's on your feet, if anything.
Sandals. And I hate sandals.
And, well, you got sandals on your feet, and notice how you're dressed or how you're clothed.
Oh, tan shorts, red shirt. Yeah, I can see it. I really can see it. Yeah.
Good. Take a deep breath. Are you male or female?
Oh, definitely male.
Okay. And are you sitting or standing or lying down?
I am standing, like walking, like a trail in I don't know, some kind of jungle area.
Okay.
Yeah.
So go ahead and keep walking along the jungle area and tell me what you notice next. Just be there present, because one of the rules of time travel is to trust the journey. So go ahead and tell me what happens next.
Just walking through, I'm like in the first person here now. I can see trees and sunlight coming in and out. Just a lot of bugs. Always a lot of bugs.
That's right.
Yeah.
A lot of bugs. And first thing that comes to mind, what's your name?
That's Mike is the first thing that came to my mind, and I think that would be because
good. Then take the name Mike, and just keep walking, and tell me what year this is, or time frame is this. First thing that comes to mind. Don't analyze. Just pop it out.
I was getting 18 something.
Very
before
good.
I thought about it.
Yeah. Okay, so it's 18 something. And where do you sleep at night, Mike, in 18 something?
It looks like a hammock.
That's right. So you sleep in a hammock. And tell me about your hammock. What's it made out of?
It's some kind of like hay kind of material. It's like leafy material.
Right. Good. And so take a gentle breath now, Mike. And how old are you?
27, I guess. I look pretty
That's
good.
That's right. Yeah, about 27. And do you have any brothers and sisters?
Kind of out there by myself.
That's right. And your mom and dad, where are they?
Doesn't seem to be any knowledge of mom and dad.
Do you remember your mom? She's still alive on the planet, or did she leave?
Nowhere to be found. Don't know.
That's right. So it's just you. And tell me what happens next. You on the hammock. What happens next?
Well, I see a machete in my hand and something food-wise in the other hand. Just laying there.
That's right. Okay. So go ahead and take a gentle breath and move a little bit forward in this place and time, and tell me what happens in the next frames of this recall or this adventure.
Yeah. It looks like a boat. Yeah,
okay.
Maybe going to a boat.
What's the...
Yeah.
Is anybody else on the boat, or just you?
There's like 4 or 5 other people around, and we're all pushing the boat out to jump on it.
Are the people on the boat male or female?
I'm getting males, kind of tribal.
Okay, tribal. And so where are you taking the boat? What happens next?
Right out into the ocean. Don't know where we're going, but it's pretty rough, pretty wild. It's sunny,
right?
It's nice, but the waves
sunny.
Waves are kicking.
So notice the other people on the boat. Just notice them.
Well, only 2 others. 2 others get on the boat. The others were just helping push it out. So.
Okay, very good. So go ahead and tell me what happens next. And all of you out there, you're on your own journey right now, I know, and you're doing a great job. And you might write down what's coming to you, but Mike is going on his journey now. So What happens next on this boat?
Well, I see nighttime still out there on it. Not very
Hmm.
pleasant either.
Not pleasant. Okay.
No.
And then?
That's all. I just see the boat in the water and the darkness, and nobody's on it now.
And you? What happened to you?
I don't see me. I don't know.
Okay.
Not
So I
there.
want to ask you a really pointed question now. How did you die?
I'm getting drowning.
That's right, you drowned. So go ahead and be drowned, and then after you're drowned and after you've left the vital forces, go ahead and go to the light. Go to the light. Go to the light. And what happens when the light comes upon you?
Really comforting. Really, it's like warm. Just warmth. That's what it feels.
That's right. That's right. Good job. So go ahead and be in the light, and looking back on that lifetime, what did you learn from the lifetime?
Oh, life is very short, and that you're kind of happier without all the added stuff. It was like really, I don't know. You talk about free will. It felt like that was free will. Just
Good.
you know.
Good. So now take a deep breath, and leaving that mic aside for a minute, I'm talking to the Mike who's on the radio with me. Mike, how does that lesson about life is short and talk about free will, how does that relate to your current lifetime at the end of the 20th century, the beginning of the 21st century?
Well, it relates to me now as because that's exactly how I really feel these days. I've had some close calls. Actually, 3 times I almost drowned in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a heart attack in 2014 that could have took me out. And I feel like I'm more of a survivor this time around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good. Very good. And I'm going to ask just a lot of questions and just answer first thing that pops into your mind. Do you hold the other mic anywhere in your body at this time?
I would say in the back of my mind because I always have had a high respect for water. I don't do things I know I can't do in the water. Some people will say, "Hey, let's swim out to the fifth doom." No, Mike's not swimming out to the fifth doom. I want my feet on the ground, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think I hold that part of it still.
And is it in your best interest to hold him in the back of your head?
Yeah, I think so because I haven't drowned it yet in this lifetime, and I'm 50. So
Okay,
I've done all right.
that's good. That's good. And is there anyone that you know in this current lifetime that you knew then?
That's tough. There's, like, I do see. Yeah, my buddy who I haven't talked to in years, Jesse comes to mind. He actually looks like
Very
one of
good.
them.
Good. Take a deep breath. Let it out.
Yeah. Okay.
Now go ahead and go back to the light. Talking to the other mic. Be in the light. Be in the light. Be in the light. Be in the light. Are you going to remain in the light, or are you going to come back on another earth walk? The one who's in the light.
Kind of looking back at the Earth, and I think that tells me that there might be more to the story here on this planet. So probably coming back again.
Thank you, Mike, for talking to me. Take a deep breath. Just let him be there. And the current Mike, come on back. We're talking now to the beautiful Mike Vera, and be present.
Right.
And open your eyes. Nice stretch, palms above your head. All the listeners who are on their own journeys, everybody, please make a mental note of what you learned on your journey. and how it affects you in the here and now. And everybody shake out your hands, kind of shake your body a little bit, put your hands way above your head. The word is yes, 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 yes. And any of the listeners who want to write in or call or let us know what just happened for you, we'd love to hear from you, because it's a very interesting thing, because inside every human being are these vivid scenarios of other places and time. And you might say, well, I may have made it up. Maybe I made it up. Well, maybe you did. But maybe, just maybe, one of these is going to resonate in such a way that you're going to really sit back and pause. And I know for myself, I once had a very vivid past life, and I knew that I felt responsible for a ship that went down. And I was drunk, and I was a guy. My name was John Gleason, and I was in charge of the workers when we were doing some soldering on a big smokestack on a big ship. And the ship went down, and at the end of the regression, he said Lusitania, and I never even heard of the Lusitania at that time. Mm-hmm. And I went to the library, picked up the book, and I knew everything about the Lusitania, everything, and I never even had heard of it before. And, you know, he wasn't responsible, but he felt responsible because the Lusitania was sunk by a German U-boat, but that's another story. So what I'm trying to say is sometimes these come out to be valid. Sometimes maybe they're just mind scraps, or maybe, like we were told years ago by Carl Jung, the history of all life lives within each of us, and we only dredge up a storyline or a past life so that we can become more attuned in the here and now. Like our Mike here, Mike Vera, now has a little mic in the back of his head reminding him to be savvy about water. So what do you think of that, Mike Vera?
It makes a lot of sense. You know, what was really cool about the whole thing is, like, I didn't have a chance to think about any of it. It's just, you know, next. And so, you know, it's because I find that if the questions were asked and you took time to think about it, your thoughts in this lifetime would cloud it. And so, you know, I found it really interesting. And yeah, water has always been a major thing in my life. I have a friend who, if not for him, and he's got this kid, and he's an adult now. We're still very good friends. And he's got on his right arm. He was born with a birth defect, so. And his arm was small, and you know, he had his own issues. Well, we were out in the water, out in the lake, and if not for him, I mean, he got to me and pulled me out. I mean, I was already done. I'd given up, so I almost drowned a couple times, and in the same lake too, and then one time as a kid in a swimming pool. So I don't know. It seems like you know, I had to be careful of water this time around. I don't know as though I was as careful as I should have been, but
sounds like it might be good to call your buddy and say hi.
Oh, I do, and his birthday is on Valentine's Day, so you know he's.
Oh, how nice! That sounds like just a little connection is happening here energetically. But I'd really be interested if any of your listeners did have a recall of some sort, or an idea or a thought. That's very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And now I understand. You actually made me understand how you could trust. I used to think, well, if I remote viewed or tried to do that, how could you trust what's coming to you? Or as a psychic, how could you trust what's coming to you? And I think the way to trust it is to, you know, just take what comes to you and not think about it. So that was pretty interesting. Really
right. Well, you know, we have so much data in our data banks, you know, bioenergetic data banks. So I want to tell everybody the rules of time travel, because it's important if you are going to start exploring this inside yourself. And this comes from my time travel book, the Do-It-Yourself Past Life Journey Handbook. But there's 4 things you just have to think about when you do these journeys. And one is just trust the journey. Go where you go. Don't worry if it makes sense. Don't worry if you're making it up. Don't think, analyze, edit, or judge. Just go with it, okay?
Yeah.
And the second rule is whatever comes up, use it to your advantage, which means how did this lesson, what did I learn from it, and how does it affect me in the here and now, just like you just did, Mike.
Yeah.
And so use everything to your best advantage.
And it helps to have somebody else asking the questions. You know, if I was to sit here and ask myself those questions, then I think I would, taint it. So
maybe, or maybe not. If you say that, you're right. But if you could be right, you could maybe not. Maybe it doesn't have to be that way. It's up to you.
Yeah.
The next thing that's really important for people is they need to trust their senses, because some people go, well, I didn't see anything. Well, if you're not dominantly visual in that lifetime, or even in this current lifetime, you're not going to see anything. Or you may be dominantly visual in this lifetime, but not in that lifetime. So you've got to trust all your senses, and your senses include sight, feel, smell, taste, or sound, or something beyond the senses, that kind of knowingness.
Yeah.
So you need to just let whatever comes. So trust the senses as they emerge and just be present. And then the last one is trust your emotions. So sometimes, and this doesn't happen every time by any means, but sometimes these journeys can be emotional. You might feel sad, or you might feel happy, or might feel frightened, or whatever. Just take a deep breath and go with the emotion, and it'll just dissipate. And you'll find out the ultimate part of any journey of this sort is, how did you die, and what did you learn, and how does that affect you in the here and now? And then also, are you carrying this person around? Are you trying to live somebody else's life? And if so, just send them to the light.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of time travel. And you see, it's in every one of us, these stories. I don't care who you are. And some people say, well, I saw a movie or read a book. No.
Uh-oh. Oop, I lost her. Too much energy there. Too much frequency. Let's see if we can get her back. Folks, that really was strange. I mean, at first I felt kind of on this... oh, here we go. Hello, I lost you there. Yeah, maybe we're putting out too much energy there.
I don't know. That was pretty spooky. I don't know why we lost connection, but in any event, I find it so interesting, because I can be in a room of 500 people, and every single person will have a recall of another lifetime, if you give yourself permission to explore that. And do you notice how simple it was when I just said close your eyes and the next thing you think about is a dream?
Yeah.
Because, you see, there's logical reasons for it, but it's also illogical. So the logical thing is, when your eyes are open, Mike, if you look around your world right now, 50% of your brain activity is devoted to vision. Okay?
Yeah.
So the moment you close your eyes, you give your brain energy to focus elsewhere, other than external processing data from outside yourself. You close your eyes and you start processing data from inside yourself, which is in kind of in a funny way a trance inducer, because you're not devoting half your brain activity to something else.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You give yourself the instruction. The next thing I think about is a dream. Well, we all know about dreams, but the dreams are accessible right here and now. You don't have to go to sleep to dream. Do you ever daydream? I'm sure all your listeners do.
I do a lot, honestly. I really do. It's like I'm one of those people. I mean, I could lay in the bed and knock myself out and go into, like, think about something and send myself into that type of dream environment. It's weird. But yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing, because there are some cultures that actually believe and they could be correct, that the dream is real and your waking life is the dream. It's the fake. The only thing that's real is the dream world. So isn't that an interesting spin on reality?
It is. It's the other side of that coin. And, it's just as possible as the other way around. I mean, why not? So,
right. And if you've ever watched yourself going about your business as a human being or a human doing, some of the things that you think and do, outside yourself are like, why am I doing this? Yet when you're in the dream world, it may not be as physically real, and yet it can be so fantastic that you can invent things, you can create things. I mean, there's a creative force inside of you that gets activated.
Well, and I think that's why we sleep, right? I mean, the actual us, the energy, who we are, goes in kind of like parking the car in the garage. It takes the body, puts it to the bed, and once it's asleep, it says, "Oh, thank God." And then you go back home doing whatever it is you do, and it's time to report back to the body at a certain time.
Yeah, that's a good description. I love your descriptions. I'm back to the bowling alley with that.
Yeah.
That was really good. I like that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's true. And, when you're sleeping, one of the things you can do, you see, once you go to sleep, your brain focuses on the last thing you think. So that's why it's not a good idea to watch television when you're going to sleep, because you might relive the movie all night long or whatever.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do before you're going to sleep is tell yourself something that you want to do. So, you might want to just say, tonight when I dream, I'm going to think about weighing 20 pounds less. I'm going to think about releasing 20 pounds. You could do that. Hypnotize yourself to lose weight, okay? Because your brain will focus on that. Okay. Or you could say, tonight when I dream, I want to have a lucid dream, and I want to meet and maybe in your dad's case, I want to meet my wife who's in heaven. I want to visit with her. And if he says that to himself as he's dropping off to sleep, he's given himself a post-hypnotic suggestion. His brain will work on that all night long, and he will open himself to that world that is beyond the structure. That's one way he can contact your mother. Uh-huh. Another thing your father can do to contact your mother, by the way, is from my book, Automatic Writing and Iris. He just needs to write her name down on a piece of paper or type it into his computer and then pretend that she's writing him a letter. And I've done this a lot on television shows where I've had people write themselves a letter as if it's from someone on the other side. And they're not to censor, analyze, edit, or judge, but just write this letter. And pretty soon they go from feeling like they're making it up, and they have this profound feeling or sense that it's being written through them automatically. And that's another way to contact deceased loved ones on the other side. I did that on the Phil Donahue show. People doing that on James Von Brogg's show, where they were. They're not really writing letters to themselves because spirit enters in and something amazing happens.
No, yeah.
And then you become
guests.
an explorer.
I see. Yeah, I was gonna say I've had guests who have, wrote books and they said it was inspired by somebody on the other side who told them they had to write it, and okay, but I could see where you get on the right channel. It's just like a radio station, like a radio tuner. You get the right frequency. I mean, why not? Why couldn't you connect? And they can't write the letter because they've left the body now. So, they do it through you.
Right. It becomes really interesting. And, I mean, there's only one truth, and it's yours, regarding yourself, of course. And, and everybody who is brave enough to explore and what is going on behind their pretty little face is always greeted with really interesting experiences. And it becomes very compelling. And, especially people who are seekers. Now, there's some people they're not seekers. They're just they're like a potted plant. They're just going to stay in this pot, and they're just going to stay in this framework, and they're going to create the life they were hypnotized to live. But there are other people who say, I'm going to take charge of my thoughts and my life, and I'm going to see if I can expand beyond this pot. I can reach out a little farther, and I can see if I want to explore greater, vaster. And time travel is certainly a great way to do it, or communing with the other side, or in your case, you're in the stars, you're in the galaxy, exploring that realm could be very rewarding for you.
Yeah, well, I have. It's a great interest of mine. I mean, every night I honestly do it. I don't just say it after a show, and even when I get home from work, other nights, I go outside. I spend time. I just stare into the stars. That's people have their gods, right? Well, mine is this universe, and I feel like it creates, it destroys, it does. It makes it possible for everything that is, and we're in it. And so I talk to it. I don't ask it to give me millions of dollars or build me a house. I simply just I talk to it like it's my friend, and and
Well,
ask for guidance, and it seems to work for me.
Beautiful. Well, you might be interested, and you're probably a busy man, but about what the stars tell you and what you tell the stars, and that dialogue or that experience might be worthy of you have to translate it into words because it's energy.
Yeah.
But it might be interesting to take the frequency of the energy and put it into words. Because when you think about it, words are just frequency and energy.
Well, let me tell you something funny. Like, I asked the universe, and one night, I'm spilling it all out to it, and I need you to tell me what I should do. I need some guidance, put me on the right track. So I go to a restaurant one night, with some family, and I happen to pick up this little paper that they have, and it's got horoscopes in it. And I read and the horoscope is basically giving me the answers that I asked. It made me laugh. And not only once, but then a different paper later that day said nearly the same thing almost. And I thought, well, okay, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the face or what have you, however that goes. I said, I'm going to take it for what it is. And I take the advice, and it works out.
Yeah.
Often the signs are there. Like, you might be asking something, and you'll drive by a billboard, and your answer's right there on the billboard, but you don't even realize it. I mean, that sounds crazy, but it's so true.
It's so true. I take people on vision quests. I'm taking a group to Sedona in about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And when I take people on these vision quests, one of the things I have them do is I have them sit down quietly and just focus on something. Could be anything. It could be huge like a mountain. It could be a little bug. It could be whatever,
Yeah.
Focus with your eyes open. And then absorb whatever you notice, and then close your eyes and focus on it with your eyes closed, and then receive a message. And you can ask questions or whatever, and just notice what happens. And I remember I took a group on a vision quest, and I, of course, did the same assignment because I don't give an assignment without doing it, right? So I'm sitting there, and I the only place I could find to sit in this particular place was really ugly. Everybody else found a nice place, and I found this old, dilapidated thing that was somebody's attempt at making a little lake, and they had kind of lined it with some crummy, black, plastic bags or something.
Yeah.
And it was just deader than a doornail, and it was so ugly, and And I thought, well, okay, I'm the leader of this group. It doesn't matter. Do their exercise and say, if the Spirit or God, give me a sign. Just give me any sign. I just want a sign. And I'm sitting there with eyes closed and I'm meditating, right? And I open my eyes. I swear to you, this happened. A crawdad crawls out and walks right up to me. Birds all around me. Frogs start jumping all around me. It was like a Disney movie. And the whole place became animated with life. It was weird. I was like, okay, all right, I get it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, it's all there. It's all there. I just had to shut the heck up and pay attention. And it was all there. And of course, everybody came back and they had, similar, but mine was, really, I was just in such judgment about how ugly this place was. And it turned out to be like this magnificent, Fantasia.
Yeah. I've had those experiences myself. And sometimes I refer to what we live in as a simulation. Like with people around me, I'll just sometimes it's to be funny, but at times I almost believe it, because it's you think of something like in my case. I'm not big on some of these flying insects we have here in South Carolina. And it seems like as soon as I go out the door, it could be 5 of us standing there, I'm the one that they always come to. And I say, see, simulation. I don't like it. I'm thinking about it. It happens. And, just like, one night when I seen a craft in the sky, I went out there that night and I says, tonight'd be a great night to see a UFO. I thought about it and bam, there it was. So it's almost that we got more power of the mind than I think we ever realized.
Yes. By the way, I have seen, I saw a UFO once, twice, actually.
Yeah.
Remember I told you I'd take people to Egypt?
Yeah.
I'm in Egypt, and my group, some of my people, they want to climb a pyramid at night, okay?
Yeah.
Which I think really dumb. In any event, I'm the leader of this group. So we go out to this, platform kind of below one of those smaller pyramids, and these guys are climbing the pyramid. In order to go to the pyramids at night, of course, you bribe somebody again. And we also have to have protection. So I have this young guy with a machine gun who's standing there guarding us, right?
Yeah.
And I say us. There's 3 of us standing on this platform, looking up at the other people who have now climbed up on the pyramid. You can't see them because it's dark. It's nighttime, right?
Yeah.
And we're just standing there, minding our own business, kind of looking toward this pyramid. All of a sudden, the weirdest thing happens. There's this green thing, and it's like a green disc, and it starts going around. It like shoots down lights, and it gets big and little, and it's acting very erratic, and it's just doing this. And I'm with these 2 women, and one of the women starts screaming like, I'm being drilled into the earth, whatever. And the other lady and I are frozen. We're just frozen, okay? And we finally I kind of motion to the one who's, making all this noise, and I go, shh, like that, and she gets quiet. And then I realized I have a camera, and this is when they had film and cameras, right?
Yeah.
A camera. So I pick up the camera, and I take a picture, right?
Yeah.
And, okay, and then this thing just vanishes. It just vanishes, okay? And the guy with a machine gun goes, what was that? What was that? I said, I don't know. Have you ever seen anything like that before? I said, once I saw a big green foot walk across the pyramid. Like, really? Okay. Anyway, so, of course, guess what? All the film on that roll went blank. It was blank. Wow. When I went to have it developed. It was blank. The whole roll of film was gone.
See?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the people on the pyramid who were climbing, they didn't see anything, except one person saw a flash of light, which could have been the camera, my flash bulb going on.
Yeah.
But nobody saw anything. But that night was the first time I ever channeled an alien, and I channeled this character who came through me and said that that they came in peace and they came as from another planet, and they only come to the Earth because they need magnesium and can't remember another element.
Yeah.
And they get it from certain places in the desert or something. So anyway, that was quite an experience. And, and then I was here in Los Angeles. Like you, I was with this woman who said, wouldn't it be neat if we saw a spacecraft? And we looked up, and I don't know what the heck we were seeing, because it was something really odd.
Yeah.
It was not going in any logical pattern, and it was very bright. By both times, there were very bright lights, so almost hurt the eyes. It was so bright. So tell me about what you saw.
Well, I've actually had several sightings in my life. Now I've had a few that were just, the lights in the sky type of thing and no telling what it was. But then I've had those that were amazing. And the night that I came out and said, boy, it'd be nice to see a UFO, I had just did a UFO show with a really good guest, and Robert Stanley and I. And when we were talking about UFO activity in electrical storms, lightning storms, and that was kind of our topic for the night. And so when the show ended, I go outside, throw some garbage away. I'm turning around and I'm walking back, and I go to light a cigarette. At the time, I smoked, and I look up and I seen something out of the corner of my eye, just a little like orange. You would almost think like you're just looking at the computer too long, so you see spots. But I looked up, make sure, and sure as hell, there it was. This big, big craft. It was floating over almost like one of those Goodyear blimps would do, just kind of going that fast. I mean, that's it was going very slow. It had 4 orange tubes. They were very long. I mean, this thing was like a football field long. And in between, I couldn't see the in between, like the ship part, but I knew that there was more ship in between the lit up parts because it blocked the stars as it went by. And on the back of it, there was like this white light. And this thing looked like all energy. It was amazing. It looked like there was the most brilliant colors I ever seen in my life. It was orange and white. I mean, it was absolute. You couldn't make that color that beautiful in a laboratory if you tried. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
the green was so vibrant. I never saw green like that.
And so when I seen it, I was living at the time in a small trailer park, and the rules were very strictly enforced. No noise. Oh, I made noise. I'm screaming and yelling, look, oh my God. And I run up to my place and I'm banging on the wall because I want Autumn to come outside and see it herself. And I'm running. When she comes out, I'm running in the middle of the trailer park underneath this thing, just jumping up and down. I'm like, I'm hoping they take me, And she came out just in time to see this thing going over the treetops, and it disappeared. And I looked back at her, she goes, what what was that? And I said, you seen it? You seen it? She said, yes, I seen it. And, it was amazing. And now her and I have had 3 sightings together that we've seen together. So she's kind of been a good luck charm, I think, on that aspect. We've seen a triangle one night, the triangle type. And it was 3 orange lights. It was fun. Now, that's the one we took a picture of. And when we took the picture, we could see it in the camera when we're taking the pictures. But when we go back and go to load it all up on the computer, the pictures are fine, but the craft is not showing up in them. So we had the same thing kind of happen to us. Yeah.
Yeah, so the same kind of thing. I mean, it was so weird that the role before and the role after a film were perfect, and that role was gone. It was blank.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just, and we all saw it. I mean, there were 4 of us that saw it, and we saw it. We all saw it the same way, and it was, and it sent these brilliant. When I look at your page, which is the Last Frequency page on the internet there, you have this green. The word home is in green.
Yeah.
It's like that word home is magnified 1,000,000 times.
Oh,
and the
yeah.
color green was so intense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. It is. And I mean, there was another time. What I'm happy about is that a good deal of my sightings weren't just me. Other people seen it too. And
yes, that makes you feel better.
It does, because when someone says, well, you're crazy or you're lying, I say, okay, well, so were they then, and that's not the case. One night back in it was 2004, my kids and we were in New York at the time, and we were coming back to my place, about to go in the door, and I seen, remember you get the jacks and you bounce the ball and you pick the jacks up quick before the ball?
Yes.
Yes. There was a craft in the sky. It looked just like one of the jacks. It was just like the jack. It had the big, round balls on the end of it, on the end of the sticks or what have you. And it was orange. Again, the same color orange, the same brilliant color orange. And it was up there, and all of a sudden, the little balls on this jack detached from it and went flying through the sky. They went in a couple circles, and then they came back to this and completed the jack again. And then all of a sudden, it just out into the space and gone. And my kids seen this with me. And so, I mean, I don't know how I've gotten so lucky to see these things, but I'm thankful that I have. When there's guys out there like Stanton Freeman who spent their entire lives investigating the UFO phenomena and they've never seen anything. And so I'm blessed.
Well, it's kind of like everyone has certain sensitivities. Like, we know that dogs hear better than humans, or dogs smell better than humans, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And some humans hear better than others, and some humans feel frequencies more than others, and some humans see, auras, and other people don't. And you just probably, my guess is that this is always around us, but that you're honed or you're tuned to, those frequencies. You can pick it up. And I think that you can develop this, because I think it's in every one of us to develop all of our senses. But it comes with an intention. And a lot of people suffer from intention deficit disorder.
Yeah.
Don't set their intention. But I think any of your listeners out there who intend to explore consciousness, they can explore all of these things. We're talking about a whole lot of things here.
We are.
We're talking about communicating with the deceased. We're talking about maybe aliens. We're talking about time travel. We're talking about consciousness. You can open your mind to at least explore it. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to have a philosophy or a story about it. Just stay the possibilities, because you can develop your abilities. My students is, trust the journey, trust your senses, and just see what comes up, and then decide what it means.
Yeah.
And don't listen to anyone else who tells you what it means, because they don't know diddly.
That's
You're
right.
the only one who knows.
And that's another thing, like even with dreams, people ask others, like experts, and I mean, it's okay to dwindle in that area, but they'll say, what does it mean? And really, only you know what those symbols and those dreams actually mean to you. So, it's, if you can analyze these things, it's a good idea to do it. And Before we get too far out and run out of time, I do want to give you an opportunity to get out, websites, books, where to get them, appearances you've got coming up, any of that stuff, or anything else that you want to get out. I do want to give you the floor to go ahead and get any of that out. And let me just thank you for being here tonight, because this has been an incredible conversation. I really enjoyed talking to you. I think you're a great guest, and I'd love to have you back in the future.
Yeah. So, okay, my name is Shelly Stockwell Nicholas, and I am the president of the International Hypnosis Federation. So you can learn about the International Hypnosis Federation by going to hypnosisfederation.com or International Hypnosis Federation.
Okay.
About hypnosis and spiritual counseling and mindfulness and all of those things that are both scientific and out there. There's both realms in hypnosis. You can help people with pain, have it go away, or lose weight, or all of those.
Yeah.
So that's one way to get a hold of me. And my phone number, I'm going to give you my phone number.
Okay.
It's 310 541-4844. That's 310-541-4844. And I invite anyone who wants to call me to feel free to do that, or you can email me, and I'm going to give you that.
Okay.
It's Shelly, Shelley, Nicholas, Nicholas, at cox.net. cox.net. Nicholas at cox.net. And the easiest thing to do is just go to hypnosisfederation.com. And there's all of my books. I've written 25 books, and probably books we're talking about today anyway is we have Time Travel, the Do-It-Yourself Past Life Journey Handbook, and we have the Search for Cosmic Consciousness, Automatic Writing and Higher Scripting, those kinds of books. And then we have practical hypnosis books. So that's one thing. But the other thing is, if anybody is in the Virginia Beach, the state of Virginia, in that proximity this coming weekend, I am flying to Virginia Beach to the NATH conference, NATH, National Association of Transpersonal Hypnotists, NATH conference. And I'm doing a class in time travel, and you will have the experience for yourself of exploring your past lives, your future lives, your between lives, and deciding for yourself what this means. And then at the conference, we're also going to talk about your essential self. And, the thing that we've been talking about here on this program. And I would love to see you at the NAF conference this weekend, or I'd love to hear from you at hypnosisfederation.com. There is also a Facebook page, so I'm going to give you that.
Okay.
And there's lots of talks on there, and it's free to everybody. It's called Free Hypnosis-IHF. Free Hypnosis-IHF, and there's lots of wonderful panel discussions and archive videos, and it's just a lovely group of people that share their wisdom and knowledge with the world, just like this wonderful man, Mike.
Well, thank you.
And Mike, your list is Vera, and that's truth, isn't it?
Yeah, I often say verified when.
That's you. You are verified. So, what I really like about you is you are on the quest. You are questing for the truth, and you're empowering others to voice their world and to consider possible babies. To consider, what are they doing here? Yeah. What are some of the things they can learn? I mean, it's just a wonderful gift you're giving your audience. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I couldn't do it without great minds like yourself. So thank you so much for being here. I mean that. I really enjoyed talking to you. You opened my mind a bit tonight, and I thank you for that. So.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah. And I wish you the best on your journey, and I hope that our paths cross again here in the future.
I hope so too. Just contact me anytime and we'll do it again.
You betcha. Well, you have a great night. Have a great rest of the week, and have a great time in Virginia.
Thank you, Mike.
All
Be
right.
well. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening.
All right. Have a good night, Doctor. Thank you. All right, folks. There she goes. I told you. Interesting or what? Dr. Shelly Nicholas. And again, I've got her information up on the website. And it'll be in the archive, too. You know, when you go to the archive, if you click on it and open up the page for that particular archive, there you can sometimes find information for the guests when they give it to me. And my guest tonight has, and I will make sure I put that in there. And so have at it. But, boy, interesting stuff this evening. And, see, boy, wouldn't you love to just do this kind of thing again tomorrow? I would. But tonight's the night. So, folks, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my final break, and then I am going to come back and talk with you all a few more minutes as time permits. Really interesting. A little bit freaked out there. She